America's not strong on her own. We have to actually work at it. And that's the part I hope that Americans take away is it's going to take every single one of us to fix this. And in order to do that, you've got to realize a lot of things have gone wrong. And Dave, it wasn't just the Democrats that did this to us. There are no saint Republicans right now because you look at Congress and all of this inflation, all the economic issues, that started with Republicans. That $2.2 trillion stimulus package that was passed, Republicans started it. Democrats have just run with it after that. But then what did Republicans do after that? So first they do this free-for-all. They expand welfare. So we now have 90 million people on Medicare, 42 million people on food stamps. So they expand welfare. And then, oh, it's bad. So what else do Republicans do? Open up earmarks after 10 years?
I'm Dave Rubin, and welcome to the first episode of The Path to the Presidency. Over the coming months, I'm going to be interviewing all of the declared Republican presidential candidates, and if some Democrats get in, I guess we could do that too. And joining me to kick this off is the former governor of South Carolina, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and now Republican candidate for president of the United States, Nikki Haley. Nikki, nice to see you.
Thanks for the chat. I appreciate it.
All right, you're first out of all of the people. Well, technically you weren't first in, right? Donald Trump was first in, you were second in, but you're first with me, which I would imagine is probably more important.
Yes. You know, I mean, look, I'm a decisive person. Yeah. I didn't need to wait. I didn't need to wait to see who else was going to get in. I didn't need to wait or worry about anything else. I think if you're going to do this, you have to do it because you know this is what you want and you know this is what you think you can do for the country. And so we were ready. And, you know, it's been a month and it's been a whirlwind, but we're working and all is good.
What were the biggest things holding you back before announcing, or the biggest worries? We'll get into the reasons why you're running, obviously, but like, what was the stuff that you were going, maybe I shouldn't do it?
It's always only family. Yeah. I mean, family's the only reason that you've got this, when you know you can fix something, like it just itches at you. And really after the midterms, I was like, that's it. That's it. You know, I mean, it's how much more do you sit back and watch? And I've always been a problem solver and I know what we need to do. I've been a 2-term governor that took double-digit unemployment state and turned it into an economic powerhouse. I was at the UN. I didn't deal with one country. I dealt with 193 and took the kick me sign off of our back. And I look at where our country is and I see us falling into this socialism and defeatism. And, you know, there's not an avenue that we don't have serious issues with. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to do this. And, you know, it goes back to the fact that I look at my parents. They came here 50 years ago when America was strong and confident and full of opportunities. I want to prove to them that they made the right decision. You know, I'm a military wife and I've watched my husband and his brothers and sisters go out and fight for our freedoms. I want them to know their sacrifice mattered, that it means something. And I look at my kids and my daughter's getting married and I see how hard it is for her to buy a home. And my son is in college and I see him writing papers he doesn't believe in to get an A. And none of us should be okay with that. And recently, 50% of Americans said that they don't think their children will live a better life than them. I refuse to let that happen to this great country. I just refuse it. So I'm going to get in there and do something about it.
Are you shocked how quickly things have changed for the worse? I mean, if you take Trump's term before COVID, things were good. The economy was chugging along. We weren't in extemporaneous wars. Like, things seem to be moving nicely. And then these last 2 years, and especially just this last, week and a half with all of this banking stuff, it's like everything feels unsettled right now.
Well, when you have a weak president, when you have the most socialist president that we've ever had, that's what's going to happen. You know, America's not strong on her own. We have to actually work at it. And that's the part I hope that Americans take away is it's going to take every single one of us to fix this. And in order to do that, you've got to realize a lot of things have gone wrong. And Dave, it wasn't just the Democrats that did this to us. There are no saint Republicans right now because you look at Congress and all of this inflation, all the economic issues, that started with Republicans. That $2.2 trillion stimulus package that was passed, Republicans started it. Democrats have just run with it after that. But then what did Republicans do after that? So first they do this free-for-all. They expand welfare. So we now have 90 million people on Medicare, 42 million people on food stamps. So they expand welfare, and then, oh, it's bad, so what else do Republicans do? Open up earmarks after 10 years?
So what do you make of that? Because when every time, so Republicans usually say we're for small government, we're for low taxes, and every now and again someone does cut taxes. But when something like the omnibus comes and they sign on to all of these crazy things and you know nobody's read the bill and they know what we're all going to say about it, yet they keep doing it. Is that to you just like the definition of what the swamp is?
I mean, don't tell me that Republicans and Democrats don't agree on anything, because they love to waste taxpayer money.
Right.
And they have no value for a dollar. It's why I think we have to have term limits. It's why I think we have to have mandatory mental competency tests over the age of 75. I mean, this is serious. And then you look at the fact that our debt is higher than our economy. We're having to borrow money to make our interest payments. I mean, none of this is okay. And so Republicans love to get on TV and talk about how awful Biden is. They started it. Yeah. So don't do that, but we can put an end to it. And that's the key. And, you know, now they're looking at what's going to happen with the economy. And Biden, of course, wants to just keep raising taxes. But what should they be doing? Claw back the $500 billion in COVID money that hasn't been spent. Don't put IRS agents on middle class Americans. Go and get that $100 billion in COVID fraud that happened. You know, if 15% of our budget is interest, stop borrowing money. We don't do that at home. As governor, I had to balance a budget. At what point is Congress going to realize they are not the only body that gets exempt from how they spend?
Are you telling me if we increase the deficit and the ceiling, the debt ceiling every year or 2 years or whatever, that might cause a long-term problem? Am I following you properly?
I mean, look at our households.
Yeah.
We don't spend more than we make because we can't.
It'd be pretty sweet if you could just always up that credit limit.
It's amazing to me, truly. And I mean, Republicans can't say they're conservative. You're not conservative if you're spending like that. And look, I've dealt with that in South Carolina. We had a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and they didn't see anything that they didn't love to spend on. And we called them out on it. We called out port projects. We called out the fact that we had to pay down debt. We went and gave tax cuts. Like, you've got to be proactive and say enough. And I think Republicans have to realize, look, yeah, we can bash the Democrats. They have been awful. They're socialist. It's terrible. But let's look in the mirror. Look in the mirror, and Republicans in Congress need to say, but what responsibility do we take?
Do you fear ever that the cultural war has been so lost that even if you have all of the right ideas, right? So we can talk about individual rights and limited government and free speech, all of the right stuff, that the cultural part of this is so messed up and so many people don't understand what the real issues are and kind of just do want the government to do everything, that it almost becomes an unwinnable situation for a Republican. Like, if you look at the midterms, it's like the Republicans obviously should have won, and yet people were basically like, well, the Democrats are running everything, it's not that good, but I'm not going to vote for a Republican.
But I don't think that's what happened. I mean, I endorsed 70 candidates. We raised $10 million that went directly into campaign accounts. I was on the ground campaigning. I think you had three things that went wrong. I think, first of all, you saw Democrats outraised Republicans again. Yep. You saw the fact that Republicans have to get it out of their heads that you have to vote on Election Day. If you have legal voting time, we need as many of our people at the voting booth as we can. As long as it's legal, I want every person to vote because we need every single one. And then finally, when independents and conservative Democrats, who weren't happy with Biden, by the way, looked, what'd they see? They saw Republicans hitting on each other and hitting on Democrats. It looked like chaos. We have to go back to what our national purpose is. We've got to stop this national self-loathing. That's at the heart of the culture wars and what started it. Stop this idea that Kamala and Biden love to say that America's rotten and that we're racist and that we're terrible to the core. We have to go back to loving America again. Because right now we look so distracted. And when America is distracted, the world is less safe. We're seeing that. But the national self-loathing, I want our kids to love America. Yeah. I want our kids to start saying the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning and at schools. I want our kids to understand that this is the greatest country in the world. We have to do that. And so I think that's the first thing is let's stop all this craziness and let's go back to showing what loving America means. And that's not with faint hearts or watered down compromises. That's by truly proclaiming what we believe in, and then our opponents will join us. And then the other side is, if Republicans have lost the last 7 out of 8 popular votes for president, shouldn't we say, maybe we're doing something wrong? Shouldn't we want to win the majority of America?
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of mindless drivel, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.